According to moneyhabitudes.com, did a study in 2019. It says that 65% of women and 52% of men said that financial matters cause them the most stress. Welcome back to YBI, where we discuss opinions and strategies on how to better your financial self. Roman has just figured out how to use gestures on here, so he's going to be adding things to his screen periodically. As you see, I'm in a different position. I'm at my school, so we got a little bit of a different situation here, but we got to get this information to you guys. So we are back today to talk about money and relationships. So very, very massive topic for everybody that's in a relationship. If you're not in a relationship, you're saving money, believe it or not. It costs a whole lot for us to be in relationships, and we want to discuss what that really looks like. So Roman, this was your idea. So lead us, good sir.
Yeah, it's basically like, how people handle money and their finances from either being just, in a partnership or just a regular relationship with somebody, or to being like a life partner, to being married. How do you kind of handle that? What different ways you can handle that? What you can do to make it better? What kind of setup you kind of want to be in there? This is something that you kind of need to just figure out in your own relationship and figure out where you guys are. That's a big component of it. Here in the U.S., our divorce rate's like 40 to 50% just from the US Census website. And that's insane. And most of the biggest issues with that are on finances and money. People not being on the same page, not knowing what's going on. And the biggest thing is, once you get into a relationship with somebody, you need to figure out really, or even beforehand, what their life goals are, what their lifestyle is. Do they live more of a faster lifestyle and what they're actually spending? You gotta have that question about debt. How much debt do you have? How much school debt do you have? What's that car loan look like? Because one of the big things is, when you're just dating somebody, the government doesn't consider you the same person. Your debt's their debt, their debt's their debt. It's two separate things. But once you get married and you sign that contract, you literally are the same person as far as the finances in the household. And then your debts combined, and you're like, well, I paid off all my school debt, but then you get married to somebody that you thought had everything taken care of, and they just didn't take care of the finance, and they got $100,000 in school debt that now you have to worry about too. And that's where friction usually starts to happen within a relationship, is how to handle those things. So it's really about how you want to set yourself up for success and how you want to handle those things.
Man, the big thing that people, especially our generation, I feel like we don't ask enough questions. I mean, in the dating phase, it is my responsibility to ask questions, to get to know the person that you're with, the same way that you're going to ask questions about sexual habits, about, previous partners, about XYZ. You have to ask money about finances. You have to ask you have to ask questions about their finances, their money, their spending habits, because that's necessary. What is your credit score? Let me know. And I mean, this isn't like first date kind of situation. You're not going to go out there and be like, what's your credit score looking like? Because obviously some of these things are more private, but if you're going to start getting serious with a person and start talking about building a life with them, or just being in a long-term relationship in general, you have to understand, can I afford a relationship right now? As a man, it's like, for me, I realize, hey, if we go out, the type of person that I am is that I'm going to end up paying for the majority of the things that we do. So whether that be me coming to get you, now it costs me gas money to get over there, and then going to dinner. Okay, cool. How much is that going to cost me to go to dinner? And then, okay, how much is it going to cost me to go to the movie after dinner? And are we going to get dessert after that? So all of these things are things that am I in a position financially where I feel like I can afford to date? It's a big question that a lot of people don't take into account, because we're like, oh yeah, dating is a thing that I want to do. But at the same time, it's like, can I afford to do this?
A lot of people say, before you get into a relationship, you should learn how to love yourself, figure out your relationship with yourself first, which then goes into, is your finances okay first before you start going out and buying dates and such like that with someone and taking people out and all that jazz. But it's also still goes. So I'm also going to bring up my relationship here too, because we ended up going to the sense of we split everything. It doesn't matter. Everything's 50-50. I might take care of one thing, she might take care of another, but no matter what, we're going to handle as a partnership. As well as when we first started getting together, finances just stressed her out. It didn't matter what it was. She didn't like calling people to figure things out or negotiating a lower bill or even just budgeting. It stressed her out. So I was like, you know what, babe, if you want me to, I'll help you out. I'll help you write everything down. I'll help you like go over your income statement. Of course, that means I'm actually to see things for you, and I'll help you figure out a plan, and then we'll do it together.
Hang on,
From
so
that,
let me add in right there. Just so you guys are aware, according to moneyhabitudes.com, did a study in 2019. It says that 65% of women and 52% of men said that financial matters cause them the most stress. So it's not just Roman's relationship. It's not just my relationship. This is just relationships in general, that people, regardless of men and women, they both have stresses about money, which is why platforms like this are so imperative, where you can learn more about money. So Alex, if you watch this, don't feel bad, because there are 65% of women that are in the same boat as you.
you know, I was going to bring this up. Since we started that financial journey together, it's been almost like 2 years, and it's helped her a lot. You know, her credit score has gone way up. Her savings have gone way up. Just her overall just sitting balance has gone way up, and it's given her less stress. And it's all about having that sit down and that plan of saying, you know what, also your own stuff goes. What are your all different relationship goals? Do you guys want to buy a house soon? Do you guys want to go on vacation? Do you guys want to do these things, or just even be more financially independent? You have to sit down and work together. And that's not even being married. It's not like, you know, having a joint bank account or anything like that. It's just saying like, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to worry about bills. We don't want to worry about this, that, and the third. We're going to save up, have an emergency fund, have savings accounts, build up our credit. We're going to push each other. You got to push each other up to be better. And if that means even sometimes you're like, you know what, let's not go out to dinner. Let's not go on a date. We're going to save money and just cook at home and have like a date night at home and play a game or do something like that. By all means can do those things. I know when you're in just the single life of dating, sometimes can't do that. You might be able to and be like, you know, come over my crib and I'll make you dinner. But some people may not want to do that, especially right now with COVID. And it's getting cold, especially in Chicago here now. So it's like, you know, maybe not want to go outside and do a picnic or something like that. But there's ways to work around it. And that's still me going back to sometimes you may not be ready to take on the extra cost to go date, because it's going to cost you more money, especially in that initial stage, because you're buying flowers, you're buying gifts, you're buying cute little knickknacks and such.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Guys, I'm going to talk to y'all real quick. Let's talk about the finesse. Let's talk about the finesse in relationships, right? So I'm psychology. That's what I do. So guys are going to try to, you see a female, right? You like, or you see a guy, whatever. You see a person that you like, and you like, that's me. I'm going to go pursue this. So you do that, but you do it with the finesse. You're trying to come and you're trying to flex. That's where the problem is, man. Flex on your budget. If this person is supposed to be with you, if they're going to be down for you, whatever, they're going to understand your financial situation. So if you're like, man, I want to impress him or her, so I'm going to go rent a Ferrari. Why? If she can't be down for you in your Corolla, she don't deserve to rock with you when you get the Ferrari. Like, you don't have to go out and finesse or try to you don't have to do all the extra stuff. What I like to do personally in my relationships, and Roman can attest to this because I sent you the same list, I like to find the cheapest possible way to do something real cute, right? So, example, my girlfriend was feeling bad. She had anxiety at one point and all this. So I said, what can I do rather than taking her out and getting her an expensive gift, blah, blah, blah. I wrote daily affirmations on little sheets of paper, literally just took some paper, cut it up, wrote a daily affirmation on it, like rolled it up, threw them all into a bag, gave her the bag. So every day she would wake up, dig into the bag, pick out a daily affirmation, and it would say something. It would be like, you're beautiful, or have a great day, or whatever. All the daily affirmations. You know how much it cost me? $0. Got some paper.
Paper, the pen, you know.
Hey, take the paper from work. I got a pen at work. You know what I'm saying? Hey, it didn't cost me anything. I might have got a bag or a rose or something like that to put. But the point is that I'm not trying to flex beyond my means. I was like, typically people are going to be more in tune with something that you put your heart into than your pocket into. Because at the end of the day, when you're talking about, hey, a long-term relationship or what you're going to do together, they don't want to have to come and realize that you spend all of this money trying to impress them and now you have zero left to support them. Like that's what at the end of the day that matters. Like if your bank account is actually going to be able to substantiate getting a house, if your credit score is going to be decent enough to actually do X, Y, and Z, that's what matters. So don't, especially in the beginning of a relationship, try to finesse and portray yourself as something different, and then all of a sudden you can't continue that lifestyle, because you're going to get them used to a lifestyle that you can no longer provide. They're going to get used to, oh, you get me flowers, you give me a bouquet of flowers every week, that costs you $100 every week, which means that that's $100 every week for the rest of your life, because you don't want to start somewhere and then not be able to maintain that. That's what people get used to. That's the habituality of our lives, is that, hey, whatever I'm used to, that's what I'm used to. So if you start them out lower, whatever you do, you know what I'm saying? Like you keep going up. You keep going up from there.
Or even be clear and be like, hey, you know, like this is what we're trying to do. We're going to cut this down, cut that. It's really just having that money talk. I don't think really too much relationships now they'll have the like intimacy talk. They'll have like the religious talk, the political talk. They'll have all those talks, but no one will talk about either career goals, or even just money goals at that point. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years financially? I know some people make that as a joke, but your short and long-term goals when you get into a relationship are very important.
Where do you see yourself living too? You know, like people don't talk about where you see yourself living, because if you're somebody that wants to live in the city, that's going to cost you a lot more. That's coming at a premium versus somebody that wants to live in the suburbs. So like literally you're just talking about, hey, where do you see yourself, you know, financially, but politically and relationally and spatially, like all of those things work together. Because I mean, somebody that wants to live in the city versus somebody who wants to live in the suburbs have two very different ideas. Do you want a townhome, or do you want an actual house? Do you want to pay an HOA, or are you anti-HOA? Do you want a standalone place that's going to incur a lot of taxes, $10,000 taxes? Are you adamant about living in a zip code that's got taxes that are actually 4% higher than literally right across the street where they're lower? So it's like those kind of conversations are imperative to have, especially when you're talking about getting serious with somebody. If you're not moving in with them, you know, it's one thing. Are they anti-rent? Are they only rent? You know, like those are things that you want to talk about.
And you definitely, you know, when you're just in that first relationship stage, or even a couple years into being with somebody, you never can actually control what anyone wants to do with their money. If they end up wanting to go out there, and then you could have helped them save up a bunch of money, they could have went out there and spent it all like on some candy or whatever. It doesn't matter. You can't really control what they do, but that'll let you know right then and there, do I actually want to continue this relationship with someone? You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. And they'll let you know right now kind of where you stand. Just as like if someone doesn't follow your views on most things, you have to be on the same page. If you're not on the same page with things, then you have to realize what you're going into when you go into that, or you have to then reevaluate that relationship and figure out what you want to do there. You shouldn't be just getting married or committing yourself to someone that you know is not on your same views financially. That's going to strain your pockets. It's going to strain their pockets. You're going to be stressed. You're end up going to be over leveraging your money on a house that you can't afford. You're going to end up buying way too many cars and not having enough money to pay them off. Because you're like, oh, well, I'm making, as a household, we're making $200,000 a year, but we're actually owed $800,000 to the banks because we just overspent all this money on credit cards and this, that, and the third. Well, I haven't been spending money. Where all this money go? Somebody else is spending all the money on the credit card that you just didn't keep up with. So you need to make sure you all are on the same page.
Which, hey, let's talk to the ladies. Let's talk
hey,
to the
ladies. Oh, I hate that song.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, ladies, let's talk about this, right? So, a guy says, "Hey, let's go out," and you like, "Man, I'm sick of you asking me out. Let's just do it, right?" Because that's how y'all be sometimes, and I'll be like, "Man, why? Why you acting hard to get?" Well, okay, we'll talk about that later. So you're like, "All right, cool, let's go out." So he plans everything. He's like, "Meet me at such and such restaurant." You do that. Ways that you can tell if he got a little bit of bread, if he got a lot of bread, where's he taking you? That's one thing. Or if he's trying to finesse, check to see if there's cash. Cash rules a lot of things. Is he paying in cash? Is he paying with a debit card? Is he paying with a credit card? What kind of credit card does he have? Does he have American Express, or does he have like a prepaid credit card? You know what I'm saying? Like these are ways that you can kind of tell. Like I'm obviously not putting all people in one category, because I know myself, Roman himself will use credit cards, but you can ask at some point, be like, "Hey, do you pay your credit card off every month? Are you messing with that 30% APR on an American Express?" You know, that's a question. Or is he paying with cash? Does he have $400 in his wallet is out his whole paycheck. Where does he work? How many hours does he work? You know what I'm saying? Like, these are some things that you can kind of gauge a little bit, you know, to kind of just see where his financial situation is. Is his check engine light on? That's the question. Is your check engine light on? Because do you not have reliable transportation? Why did you take me to a restaurant that is going to cost $300? Your check engine light is on. You didn't get an oil change. Your tires are bald. You ain't got no gas in the car. Like, what is it? I mean, somebody that is really trying to do things as a whole is going to make sure that the whole picture looks right. So I want to present myself correctly as a whole, meaning that I can come and everything is going to be in line, but it's all going to still fit in line. I'm not going to take you to a 5-star restaurant as a first date. I'm not going to do that because, first and foremost, I don't know if I like you that much. You know, the dating phase is time for us to get to know if we like each other, right? So we might go to Olive Garden. It's fine. It's fine. And then it'll be like, okay, where do we go from here? You know, steps from there. But those are kind of some things that you can gauge and talk about, but it's not going to cost you too much to just discuss. Hey, you know, bring up finances on your first date. Just do it. You know, you can ask, do you want me to pay the tab? Just to see what he says. Do you have cash yourself? Don't go on a date without the ability to pay. Would you concur? I would say don't go on a date without the ability to pay.
Yeah, don't assume that any first date on either both sides to assume
Right.
that one person is going to pay. Like I literally well, I was working at the bar with a Sunday night and a couple went on the first date. The girl left the table for like 10-15 minutes with the bill on the table just to come back and see if the dude was going to pay by the time she came back. Which, you know, could say a few things on either side, whether or not, you know, whether he was expecting her to pay or whatever. Maybe he didn't expect it was that much, whatever. But it's like, never go out without expecting you might have to cover that tab, or just with on either side. Maybe you were like, hey, I want to get this tab. There's no reason why I feel like people should always expect that the guy is always going to pick up the tab. Maybe the girl might want to pick up the tab, or maybe she want to take you out, or vice versa. You never assume which one's going to happen. I've seen plenty of girls on dates be like, you know what, no, I'm gonna end up taking it. I'm gonna pay before he gets back because I know he's gonna try to pay the bill already. You know,
Yeah.
and
I
take
think
it.
that those are it. It's good to know. It's good to know because I know that I will feel more comfortable as a man is on a first date if she's like, do you want me to get that? Like, and if she's like reaching for her money, I'm like, oh, so she can't get this. So I know she at least got a little bread. I'm still gonna get it myself just because that's who I am as a person. But I'm like, I want to know if you have the ability to meet me halfway. Can you do this if, you know, let's say whatever happens, do you have the ability to sustain even this relationship at any level?
I'd rather both people in the relationship have money than one person. I completely understand, you
Absolutely.
know, some people have, you know, different mindsets or their family dynamic or they want to be taken care of. By all means, yes. And I guess through the whole case of like once you are married, do you keep separate accounts? You have a joint account? Do you start your own little nest egg? And my opinion on that would just be if you have to build up a nest egg, so you feel like you might have to run away from that relationship. I don't know if you should be in a relationship. Should you have
Yeah.
joint bank account? By all means, yes. Especially when you're all paying for the household. You're like, this is the bank account that we're putting money into to pay for the mortgage, to pay for the household, pay for the car, whatever. And if you still have separate jobs, have a separate bank account for that. By all means, yes. Just whatever way the relationship wants to be set up, and yes. But no way should you be trying to build up a nest egg with the idea of leaving, because that means you never actually want to be in a relationship, or you didn't trust that person, or you yourself were not ready in the first place. It's different like, hey, I want to keep money to the side to save up for a vacation or maybe buy something special for the family or whatever. That's different. But if you're trying to
Yeah.
make an exit strategy, you should never enter it.
So financially, let's talk about ways that you can get a financial picture of somebody short term and long term on a first date, right? How would you do that? Let's say school. School is a very good way to say, hey, where did you go to school? Did you go to school? How much? And then you bring up that Sally Mae thing. You'd be like, man, Sally Mae be tripping, right? You know, and they'll be like, man, Sally Mae, like, I don't have any loans. And you'd be like, check, ain't got no loans, no student loans, you know. But then if
Even
they're
be
like,
direct. I would even say just be direct. a lot of people I feel like, aren't direct enough to be like, hey, what are your short-term and long-term goals financially? Straight up. It's a big
First date,
question. It's a big
first
question.
date.
But then, or second date, third date, whenever you feel comfortable to bring it
That's what
up.
I'm
But
saying.
it's
I was just saying first date,
oh,
what they
like
looking like
more like,
without just trying to, hit them with a little bit of finesse,
you know,
just to kind of see where they at. But you can ask them,
I'm
where
direct.
do you work? I'm a very direct person too, but this is for people that, I mean, this may be for, guys that are like, how do I ask this girl that I'm talking to, like, what do I do? Because you may feel some type of way asking her that. So you can be direct and be like, how much money do you have in your savings? You can, or you can be like, hey, huh?
I don't know about that question. Asking how much money. That's pretty
Hey,
direct, though.
it's very direct. That's what I'm saying. So there are several ways that you can talk to a person about what they're like, what's your long-term goal, short-term goal, job-wise. So you can kind of see, where on the spectrum they're going to fall financially. So if they say, well, I'm in school now and I'm going to be an MD, I'm going to be the head surgeon of XYZ place, you know that they're probably going to make six figures or more in the next 2 years. But you also know that they have a ton of debt and it's going to take them some years to acquire enough money to pay off all of that debt. Or are they like, I'm on a full ride scholarship, I'll be done in one semester and I have a job lined up that's going to pay me six figures, blah, blah, blah. So I'm in just a transitional period. And then you got to fact check that. Don't just take them at what they say and they just be like,
So
oh
then
yeah,
what not maybe because that's first date talk too, but also maybe it's like once you actually make the decision, like, hey, I might actually want to get into a long-term relationship with this person. Then you might want to be like a lot more direct and say, okay, what are we working with here?
oh,
How are we
absolutely.
doing? Or especially once you hit once you hit that point in life where you want to move in with that person.
Oh yeah.
Then
If you're trying to move in with somebody, you should know everything. Let me see a bank statement.
and I'm also going to bring this up as well. Once you move in with someone, if you're not married, you're roommates. You're technically legally roommates. You're not married at that point. You can handle your finance like you are, but you're roommates, and you need to still come up with that plan and say, okay, I'm covering this much of the rent, this much on bills, this, that, or the third. Like, you all are roommates, and needs to just get that point straight up across. Like, you could be a domestic partnership in some states, depending once you live with them for like 10 years or something, but that's a long time. And by that point, you're probably gonna be married anyway. Um, so you need to make sure even then, if you're going to live with somebody, you have very clear out, laid out goals, or even bring out then, if you are going to live with somebody, hey, what happens if we do break up? Well, how does that look like? How are we going to split things off? Am I going to move out and you're going to get a subletter to cover this, or for in a one bedroom, do we just cancel the lease and whatever? You kind of should talk about those things. And it's some people are like, well, I don't want to talk about breaking up or leaving, but it's a plan. It gives people, just if something does happen, it's a safety net, not only for yourself, but for the other person in the relationship. It's a partnership at the end of the day. And both people need to be looking at things at both sides and say, okay, we're on the same page about what's going to happen if things do go bad or whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, and talking about those things, I mean, you need to know 100%, no question, no doubt, before you get any type of loan together, before you do anything of that nature. This is like, oh yeah, we've been married, or we're getting married, or we are married, or this is somebody that I've been with for the last 5 years, and we're not married, but we don't desire to get married, but we're going to be together forever. And that is one thing that you're like, okay, cool. Because trying to get, if you, let's say, okay, I bought a house with somebody, their name's on it, my name is on it. You know how much legal paperwork and action is going to be necessary to dissolve that asset or the loan? That's just not, it's not worth it. So when it comes to a joint credit card that you're going to co-sign, or co-signing on a car, or having a house together, just be like, you have to know that you're going to stay with this person forever. Like, that's what my recommendation would be. It's not like, oh yeah, you have to. No, you can meet somebody and go co-sign on a loan for them today. I wouldn't. I mean, it's going to take some time for me to feel comfortable enough to put my credit where our relationship is. I have to know that there's a solid foundation and that we're going to be here forever for me to be like, you know what? Because putting money up to one thing is that's different. You know what I'm saying? Because you can get more money. But once your credit score goes down, go back and check out your credit video, wherever Becca's going to put it, probably here-ish. You can check out that video on how long it takes you to build your credit back up. but co-signing on that is going to be a massive thing. But people do that in relationships. That's just kind of where we're at. They're like, hey, that's the natural progression is, hey, we're going to get stuff together. We're going to do stuff together. But that's got to come at a position when you're like, I'm going to be here forever. I'm in this for real, for real. So, yeah, just make sure that you're committed to them long term before you put that credit in jeopardy.
Then it's a good place to go into our sterling statements, our wrap up for today. First sterling statements I want to bring up with you guys is a plan. You want to have a talk. You want to have a plan to figure out where things at, where you at with that person, especially once you start getting to a more serious relationship. Because even if you want to start off as just in a standard relationship, you want to make sure you kind of maybe start getting those financial goals in line, in case you do want to go into be like a life partnership or marriage and end up doing it like that, or domestic partnership, whichever one. That way you could just like set it up to where you have long-term success. It's like investing. You're invested in your relationship at that point, and you'll grow it, and it'll grow big. It'll grow big as you want it to be, and you can go from being like, oh, like we're always worried about our bills each month. And you're like, oh, we just bought a new house in the hills, or we just bought this, or we just, and retired early together. Anything like that.
And then point number 2, ask questions. Ask a lot of questions. Ask questions that will give you a good idea of who they are financially, where they want to be financially. Do they plan on going back to school? Do they want to stay where they are? Do they want you to go back to school? Do you want to be a stay-at-home wife? Do you want to be a stay-at-home husband? What is my credit score right now? How am I working to fix that? What mistakes did I make when I was younger? All of these different things. Do you expect me to put my credit up within the first 2 years? Do you have your own place? Do you want me to co-sign on the place for you? How does your rent look? How much is it? What if you lose your job? How much is questions? Ask as many questions as you can in a dating phase before you get into that long-term committed relationship, and then things pop up. That would be my thing.
A good way to do that. This is something I'm just gonna bring up that me and Alex did, was just really like I wrote down my financial journal when we first started doing it, or even much, and we would like switch. We both would look at each other and be like, okay, I see this is doing good now. Well, like what happened here? Why is spending go up here? And we actually according to like, okay, what are we doing? How can we make this better? We work together to push each other up. And that's not just in money, that's in all aspects. And a relationship is a partnership, help each other, grow with each other, push each other.
Transparency. Transparency is the name of the game there.
Sterling fact number 3, transparency.
Transparency. Be transparent. Don't lie to whoever you're going. I mean, the same way that we talked about finesse. Just be transparent with them and see how you guys can work together to build wealth together, to get yourselves in better position. That's what relationship is all about for me is, hey, am I a better person after this relationship or through this relationship than I was when I came into it? And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for when it comes to relationship. Can I be better? Can I make them better? Can they make me better?
I think it's actually a good time to even have this talk, just because COVID, a lot of people were at home. They were at home in quarantine. If you were single then you are now trying to go back out and date because now you've been lonely this whole time. And that's a good point, especially with people. A lot of people still being jobless. A lot of people still on unemployment or trying to find a new job or new work. It's very important right now to, when you first going into things, to have a very clear picture where you're at. Or even if you were in a relationship in COVID during quarantine and stuck together the whole time, hopefully you had some time even now to
good for you.
Well, even now to have some time to even reevaluate and look together and say, okay, now, how our plans will change. Alex and I wanted to move across the country this year before COVID, and then COVID messed that up. I'm like, well, now we're going to stay in Chicago for a little bit longer. And just reevaluating where you want to go and what you want to do, and having that clear transparency with everything. So yeah, guys,
So those are our sterling statements for today. I think this is a decent place for us to wrap up. Again, we want to congratulate our winner, Danielle Derrick, from our last giveaway. She was in the last video. So congratulations to her again. We're going to be doing another one sometime soon. So just keep up with us, all the things that we're doing. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share.
Fall in love with that subscribe button. If you really like it, go ahead and touch that notification
bell. You're saying that they should be in a relationship with our like button?
Yes.
That like button?
Yes.
Okay.
Be committed to that like button. Uh,
commitment relationship. Be transparent with us about being in a relationship with the like
yeah.
button.
Also,
Yeah.
those to our viewers out there that are listening on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Himalaya, um, found a viewer that was listening to us on a different podcast app I didn't even know about. Leave reviews on there too. Leave comments on that for us too, so we can see those. But thank you all so much for helping with us, growing with us as well.
Yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to the
Shout
people that
out,
are on the
shout out.
podcast. Like, what's up to the people on the podcast?
And we're gonna keep
Um,
growing.
yeah, we're definitely going to continue to move, and we will be back with you guys as soon as we possibly can. But until next time, Roman.
We may be young, we may be broke, but we are always investing.
Always investing. Thank you guys. Peace.
Hey everybody, thank you for listening to Young Broken Investing. We just want to let you know that these are the opinions of the hosts. Are not meant to be the basis of any security purchases or investments. We're trying to give a little information out there for everybody, and have fun and be safe.